Coming to you from the campus of Utah Tech University in St. George, Utah, this is 70 is the New 50, a podcast on how to be vigorously alive as we age. Creator Jan Graham Hunt is joined by her co-host Wendy King. And now, 70 is the New 50.
Welcome to 70 is the New 50. This podcast is brought to you by the Institute for Continued Learning, where we hold 60-plus classes each semester, geared to those of us who are 50 and better on the Utah Tech University campus. It is our privilege to be part of the Live Long, Live Well initiative in our community. Jan Graham Hunt is the founder of this podcast, and I'm her co-host, Wendy King, who is so pleased to be able to interview today our guests, Antonino, Barbera, and Sanjoy, Bhattachary. The setting for our recording, we are in the podcast room run by Sean Denovan on the Utah Tech University campus in gorgeous St. George, Utah, the gateway to Zion National Park and other unique natural wonders of the West. Our topic today is neurohealth and how a community comes together to make a difference by introducing a fun and beneficial activity. So let's get to it. Sanjoy, this week you are hosting Dr. Barbera here at St. George at the Senior Center and introducing NeuroPong. Tell us how you learned about this and why you decided to facilitate bringing it to our community.
Well, Wendy, I've got to go back a couple of years to 2021. I am co-director of the Huntsman World Senior Games Table Tennis Tournament, which is every October here in town. And Antonio came in 21 for the first time and played in our tournament. A couple of hundred players over 4 days. As a director, you don't always get to meet every new player, and I never met him. He came, he played, and he played well, but I did not make any connection with him during the tournament. A few months later, maybe 4 months later, he called me out of the blue and said, I'd like to introduce myself, tell you a little bit about my background, and there's something specific I would like you to consider doing. And that's how this all started. That's the first phone conversation we had. He told me about his life as a physician in Colorado, how he came down with MS about 4 or 5 years before that he had come and played in our tournament and played well with MS. We never knew it, and that he was in the process of developing a program in Colorado for people like himself that to alleviate these physical conditions that people with MS have, and similar other neurodegenerative conditions. So he told me about this program he had going, and what his ask that day, what he wanted me to do as co-director, was take the idea of adding an event to the Huntsman Games for persons with these neurodegenerative conditions. In addition to the 40 other events that we have, he wanted us to add this 41st event. It was an intriguing idea. I didn't know much about this community playing table tennis, but he assured me that there were a number of people who were doing it as therapy, as a competitive activity, as a fun activity, and I decided it was something worth pursuing. So my co-director and I took it to the Huntsman organization, to Kyle Case, who's the CEO, and they agreed to try it in the 2022 games as a trial event. Wow. And as a pilot, not an official event, not on the website, just word of mouth. And we did, and we got 10 players, and they had a marvelous time. The other players supported it, the audience, the spectators supported it, and it turned out to be a really good event. And the smiles on the faces of those 10 players at the end of the day told the whole story.
Wow, that's great.
So that went well. We took it back to the board. They approved it this year in October. It will be an official part of the games on the website. People are registering for it from around the country. So we hope that will happen, turn into a bigger event. The second part of it was this NeuroPong exercise program, which he's been conducting in Colorado. working directly with participants, teaching them exercise movements. These are movement disorders. And he's taking them through a series of movements that mimic table tennis movements, that simulate table tennis movements, and some of them can play table tennis. But he's been doing this there for a while himself, and I thought that this is something that every community could benefit from. St. George can. There are plenty of people here with Parkinson's or MS who could benefit from being part of this kind of a program. So we've been working on it for a while.
Oh, that's wonderful. What a great story. So, Antonio, okay, you're a physician working in Colorado, and all of a sudden, tell us what happened and how you found this, I'm going to call it founded, this movement.
I did indeed. Well, I used to be a gynecologist, believe it or not, and I became physician very young. I was 23,
Wow.
and I was OBGYN at the age of 27. So there was not a job for me. It was my life. I mean, I liked every single moment of my medical profession, and I never thought I was going to stop it until one day something happened, and I lost my right leg. It took probably 4 or 5 days to the rest of physicians to realize what was going on with me.
I mean, did you lose strength, or you just couldn't walk, or?
That's exactly what I mean.
Wow.
I lost it.
Wow.
Means I lost any sensation, I lost any power, I lost any control. So this leg was not mine. It was something there. I could see it. No control, no sensation coming back. And after 4 or 5 days, we arrived at the diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. Well, I continued working. So I decided I took on any kind of physical therapy you can imagine. I started my treatment. Well, the treatment actually is not a treatment. Treating means that you may cure something. MS does not have a cure. The treatment consists of what we call modifying disease medications. These medications try to avoid a further attack, a future attack. Mm-hmm. And so I had a cane, and I decided, okay, I'm going to collect an amazing collection of canes since I'm going to use this cane. And fortunately, after 3 months, I was able to abandon the cane. But learning to walk again and learning to reacquire the full control of my leg was intense. Yes. I had no idea what to do, really. I mean, I couldn't fire many muscles, but I was working hard on that. And I was very happy. So I started using this medication for almost 1 year, 11 months and 2 weeks into my conditions. I have another attack. And I lost my left arm. I was just coming home from a beautiful delivery of a twin pregnancy. Two twins. It was a tough maneuver. It's called a breech extraction of the second baby, of the second twins. And it was a team effort to bring home this successful delivery. So I went home, but I was walking on a cloud. I was so proud of what I did, of what the entire team accomplished. We shared this experience of this beautiful event, this birth for this lady that really had these twin deliveries, these twin babies. And I was so happy. It was a Saturday morning. Noon was senior center ping pong. I went to play. And at 12:08, I went to the ground to pick up the ball, and I could not reach the ball. Wow. So my hand was landing 15 centimeters, whatever those are in inches, you will figure it out, away from the ball.
About 6 inches.
And I couldn't pick up the ball. So I picked it up with my right hand. I put it on my chest. I transferred to the left. I tossed the ball in the air, and the ball went somewhere. My hand went somewhere else, and I went home. 12:15, 6:45 p.m., I lost my left arm. So I went to the ER the following day, new lesions in my cervical portion of my spine. I failed the first treatment. I started a new treatment. I had to restart rehabilitation, and this hand was not coming back. Again, it was not mine. Yeah. I couldn't feel anything. I couldn't control any motion. 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Stopped working. After 9 months, I finally recovered that. And you don't see me, but I have so many discomfort from this condition that sometimes it's called an invisible condition. So people look at me and say, oh my gosh, you're in a good shape. Oh yes, I do look in good shape. But if
you do. For those who can't see, he looks in great shape.
Thank you. People compare me to a quarterback sometimes. And so what's happening is that I have so many sensations that are wrong with me. So my right leg is burning. My right hand feels like if I am in a big glove full of sand. The same thing with my left foot. And I have an elephant sitting on my chest, always. Means I have this sense of constriction in my chest that is bothering me. Yuri came in November 2019, and my son was home from school, and we had table tennis in my garage. So we started playing a little bit. It was Thanksgiving, and I felt something strange. So, wow, what is going on? We kept playing. After 3 or 4 days, I realized that this elephant, this sense of constriction that I have in my chest, was leaving me alone. So, oh my gosh, this elephant is going to sit in the corner and leave me alone. Wow. Is that because of ping pong? You know, as a physician, I was curious. I mean, what is this sensation? I mean, I try to do anything I can, and I still feel this. Of course, I stopped playing, and the constriction came back. I said, well, let me try again. And indeed, the ping pong was giving me some relief. So I started searching if ping pong could be useful for other people with multiple sclerosis. And I found very nothing information on ping pong and multiple sclerosis, some information on ping pong and Parkinson condition, and some information on ping pong and Alzheimer. Say, wow, okay, I may do something for people again in my life. So I started reading about this amazing thing that our brain can do. Our brain, if it is challenged in the right way, is able to produce new cells. This process is called neurogenesis. And these new cells can produce new connections, new pathway, new neural pathway, new network. Well, I founded this nonprofit organization called Table Tennis Connections. And so I started reading a lot about neurology. I started certifying myself in the world of neurology. And the main focus of the Table Tennis Connections is this project that I call NeuroPong project. So basically, it's a tailored table tennis. It's the initial 12 weeks of table tennis or ping pong for people with these 3 conditions: multiple sclerosis, Parkinson, and Alzheimer. So again, I always introduce this program as a form of neurorehabilitation. I tell people, I will challenge your brain, because we know from clinical study as well as for experimental studies that if we challenge our brain can do more, can maintain its function, can improve its function. Now, we are aging. How do you say? We are 50 and better?
50 and better.
50 and better. Guess what? At the age of 40, our brain starts shrinking. So why don't we say we are 40 and better? Why don't we say we are human being and better? This is an incitement, it's an incentive to say, okay, let's take care of our brain. We have been always, as a physician, taking care, thinking, okay, let's control your sugar, your glucose, your blood pressure, your cholesterol. What about our brain? So for me, this is an educational process to make sure people know that this simple but at the same time very complex game is beneficial for our brain, especially for people experiencing these conditions. Now, if we are able to reduce the decline that this condition naturally brings to people living with them, let's say also to stop the decline, what about if we improve just through this simple sport, to this simple little ball that weighs 2.7 grams and a paddle? Guess what? This sport brings us together. And it doesn't matter if you are from Italy or not. If it doesn't matter if your color of your skin is white or black, or it doesn't matter. What about if you have a different accent? What about if I am 60 or 90 and you're 8? Doesn't matter. We play ping pong. So for me, the invitation is let's stay together around this blue table. And so we created this NeuroPong, and we presented, as Sanjoy said a couple of years ago, to the Huntsman, and the Huntsmen realized how important this event could be for this population, well, for everybody.
Right.
And here we are again today. I'm back in St. George, and we just presented the NeuroPong today to the local community of people with Parkinson and mild cognitive impairment as well. Yeah. And that gives me a lot of honor to be part of this adventure that Sanjoy is helping me to bring.
That's wonderful. Well, Sanjoy invited me today to come and observe, and I have to tell you, it was amazing to watch people with some impairments. I could tell they had some impairments, learn the game and watch you teach the game. So I saw them following instructions, and at the, I would say at the midpoint, they were able to hit the ball over the net, where at the beginning there were some challenges. But I kind of felt like there was more to it. It was more than you were just teaching table tennis.
I think he was teaching more than the game. I think all of the movements, all of the different optional things you can do with your body and keep the brain and the body connected, the different muscle groups, the use of the legs, the arms, the forearms, the hands, the wrists, the fingers, all of those things, disparate parts of the body that get used in the sport of table tennis can also be simulated by someone before they ever start playing table tennis. They can still benefit by going through those exercises. And you saw that today.
But what was fascinating to me is it appeared to me you were very subtle, and you were talking about how it helps, but again, you were doing it like a coach, or making it fun, and also you were not, you did tell people some of the fundamentals. I mean, you didn't just say, oh, you'll get a little bit better. You were just saying, okay, you got to do this, you got to move this way. And I was pretty impressed that people were able to follow those directions. So how do you consider that teaching maybe a little bit different than if you were just going to teach table tennis?
Because knowing what it took me to rehab myself, and knowing personally, firsthand, what they are going through in terms of physical and mental conditions, I can bring my own experience. So I had to recover a limb of mine. I have some stiffness, I have some discomfort, I have some pain, but who cares? What I want to transmit to people is, let's do this together. It doesn't matter what your condition or whatever you call impairment can be. It doesn't matter. We can be here and play together, and we can exercise our brain. And again, let me challenge your brain, because it's going to be something new for you. That's what I'm trying to propose to you. You've been playing for 30 years the same way. You walk through that door with me, you're going to change today. Why? Because it's new. So your brain needs something new. Being a new language, being a new instrument, be a new social life. And ping pong really puts together aerobic exercise, anaerobic, balance, dexterity, everything in less than half a second. And the ball is coming back at you. So you better be ready. You better be. So is this challenge, this stimulation of many senses that will keep you on your tippy toes. So I need to be ready in a safe way, because we are teaching how to keep your balance. So one of the risks of this condition is fall. So we need to prevent that. How? Working on our muscles that will allow us to keep our balance. And so I try to transmit this information in a fun way, in a social way, where everybody is participating. It doesn't matter what their conditions are.
Great. That's just so wonderful to hear. And just a quick question. Is there a difference between table tennis and ping pong?
Just a name difference.
It's just it's the same game?
It's exactly the same game.
Okay, good.
From what I understand.
I don't know. He's shaking his head a little bit.
From what he understands, maybe the same. Now, this ping pong was a trademark. And so now, since the sport became an Olympic sport, he officially got called table tennis.
Okay.
So, and also some rules are different. The scoring system is a little bit different. But what is the most important thing? We are human beings just using these things.
Oh, that's wonderful. So, Sanjoy, what do you think the challenges are of bringing this program to a community?
I think, first of all, introducing something new there's always a learning curve. There's always a bit of a hurdle. But as we've talked about it for over a year now and presented the idea to various audiences in St. George, there's been great receptivity. I mean, the Parkinson's, you have to have disparate elements come together to make something like this happen. But the two constants that are definitely necessary to make it happen is you need participants and you need volunteers to work with the participants. And we've got a plentiful supply of both.
Great.
I mean, Antonio has, I have, we've gone and spoken with the Parkinson's Society here in town, and every time we've gone, the number of people, hands going up, people who want it to happen, who wish to participate whenever it starts, that number has grown and grown.
That's wonderful.
The number of volunteers that I've been able to recruit, there's never been a problem. There's always people willing to help. But the volunteer spirit in this community is marvelous in so many ways. So those two elements we have.
Okay.
But we've also had to find a location, get equipment, get a number of other things in place before we can launch something. And then finally, today, this week, he's here to provide the training to all of the local volunteers so we can carry the mission forward.
Wonderful.
So that's falling into place. I think we're close to launching NeuroPong.
Good. Oh, that's great. I'm really anxious to, as a family, my family participates. So, keep me posted on that.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Now, I guess one question is, you're really trying to develop some, I'm going to call it objective measures that it does have benefits. What are you looking for, and what have you discovered to date?
Well, when I started this, I consider myself to be the glue between different experts. Who are the experts? People with these conditions, people experiencing day by day these conditions, physicians that take care of these conditions, physical therapists that take care of these conditions. So I am a physician. So what I want to do is bring science behind this sport. It's not just my own pleasure, my own anecdotal experience of an improvement in people's life. I want to make sure that I am offering something that has a deep value that can be offered to anybody. So I just finished a pilot study with a group of Parkinson people living with Parkinson in Fort Collins, working with the Movement Disorder Center at the University of Denver. And I am in the process of finishing 2 more protocols with the Rocky Mountain MS Center in Denver as well, and the Alzheimer's Association in Denver as well. Now, here in Utah, I've been in touch with the University of Utah and with other physical therapists, neurophysical therapists, and other people involved in the care of these people living with these conditions. So the initial goal is to collect some data that are objective, that I can say, okay, this thing is valuable because it improves A, B, and C. Or maybe it does not improve that, but I need to work on that. I need to make sure that what I'm proposing as a value not only towards what we call the motor symptoms that you can see visible to everybody, but also to the non-motor symptoms. I care about you as a person. Are you sleeping well? Are you doing well in your family, with your partner, with your caregiver? What about your social life? So in our assessment, we assess body function, like your balance, your skill, but also other assessment of the total quality of life. So questionnaires about depression, about sleeping, about interaction with other people. I care about you as you, and not just you as something that moves and needs to stop moving.
Great.
Because this intimate and deep interaction between our mind and our body, they are there. As human beings, we are this amazing mixing of these things. And my body will not work if mentally I don't tell my body to work.
Great.
I personally overcome certain difficult things. I want other people to do the same.
Great. Well, you'll have to keep us updated, maybe on maybe a year from now when some of that data comes in. I'd love to learn about that.
You will be the first one.
Great. That's good. Now, I know we're talking about, objective outcomes, but can one or two of you just share some anecdotal stories about anyone you know that this has really made a difference besides obviously you, Antonio? I mean, if some patient comes to mind, not patient, obviously, if a player comes to mind.
5 months ago, I organized the first class with a group of people living with Parkinson. And I asked them to do a specific exercise, and I told them, the ball will go on the ground, don't worry about that. Now, the sequence of sound of the more than 100 balls going on the ground was ridiculous, okay? Every ball was everywhere. And people started looking at me and said, oh my gosh, what is this crazy guy asking us to do? Until class by class, class by class, class after class, now you don't hear any ball going to the ground. And if we touch the ground with the ball, it's the same sound. Means we are working together. We have full control of those balls. And everybody's laughing at it. Oh my gosh, look what we are doing. Wow. We were able to obtain this. And another day, I told myself, I'm going to propose something weird. Should I do that? Should I not? And I told them, guys, I'm sorry. You know, I'm crazy. What about if we stand on one leg and I will let you jiggle with the ball? They look at me like, are you coming from Mars? And they accepted the challenge. And some of them start trying and trying. Now I will show you. I mean, there are at least 10 people, 10 participants. They are able to stay on one leg and they go up and down. In the meantime, they jiggle with the ball and the paddle. And so we laugh about that because, guys, look what we are obtaining. Look what we are gaining. Look what we reached. And everybody is so supportive of each other because nothing can happen by myself. I challenge you, you challenge me. Right. And everybody really supports. Oh my gosh, keep going, keep doing. And so emotionally intense and creates this community that we really need.
That's wonderful.
He keeps using the word community. I think that is what is happening in Colorado around this activity. And that's a wonderful thing.
That's great. So if people want to learn more about NeuroPong or how to bring it, if it is in their community, or how to bring it in their community, how do they learn about it?
Well, here, I think I've kind of been the person who's been bringing people together and working on getting the steps in place to launch it. I mean, once we get it off the ground, there'll be a number of volunteers who are going to run with it, and it'll become a twice weekly 2-hour sessions. That's what we're contemplating. That's going to happen. Right. At the moment, I would say probably call me. I'd be happy to share all information with them. I don't mind. I don't know if you put phone numbers and things like that on the air, but
we can do that.
I'm happy to give out. Do you want me to
we'll put it on the header. That'll be great.
That's fine.
And then Antonio, we have someone from California listening, right? How do they learn?
Well, they kept calling me from Arizona, California, Oregon, New Jersey, New York. So they heard about this NeuroPong, and there is a website called Table Tennis Connections.
Okay.
.org, and there is also another website called NeuroPong.org. Okay. So they're going to get on our website, and they're going to see the details of the program.
Great.
There's my email there, that is abarbera@tabletennisconnections.org. My phone number, I am always on top of my communication. Remember,
Excellent.
Table Tennis Connections. I need to connect with you.
Oh, that's great. I love that. Well, that's wonderful. And then, let's see, I guess one thing I'd just like to ask you real quickly, both of you, what tip do you have for someone, whether they're playing NeuroPong or table tennis, that you want to share? One quick tip.
Have fun doing it.
Excellent.
My tip is the same. Have fun. Bring your brain, bring your paddle, have fun.
Good. And then I'm going to share one that I learned today. Bend your knees. Get closer.
Was that me screaming at everybody?
And I need to learn that. I need to get better at that.
That's great. Well, thank you both for being my guests today. And I think that's a wrap. I will maybe just, though, end with one little quote here. And this is, happiness is sometimes just the sound of a ping pong ball.
Oh, very nice.
We love that.
Isn't that good? And then the second one I found, which I think is great, is from Ronald Dahl. It's from his work called My Uncle Oswald. Life is more fun if you play games.
Oh, I'll endorse that idea.
Can I say something?
Yes.
Life is much more fun if we play games together.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yep.
Well, thank
That's
you.
me.
That's
Thank you,
awesome.
Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy.
Thanks for
You're
having me.
so
welcome.
much.
Well, that's a wrap, and thank you to my guests, Antonio, Barbera, and Sanjoy, Bhattachary, and all of you for joining us for 70 is the New 50. Stay curious, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for joining us on 70 is the New 50. Don't miss future episodes for inspiring and eye-opening discussions about living a fully engaged life as we age. We'll see you next time on 70 is the New 50.